abolishing it. They said that for each student in different schools, but we say it is for to allow to compare if both schools to allow to have a fair, and there's no harm in allowing it to exist. And if it were to be abolished, it would ruin thousands of students, maybe even hundreds and thousands of students' chances from rural or small area to be recognized of their effort and push students to be demotivated. And that is why we, as the opposition team, opposes these motions. Before moving on to our arguments, we'd first like to rebut some of the points given by their first speaker. They have not clearly stated about their support of abolishing all national exams. They said that they will support a certain national exams, but that doesn't make sense in this motion. They said that they will abolish all of any kinds of national exams and in favor of continuous assessments. And they haven't clearly defined what are national exams and what are continuous assessments. They have only given only the top of what. They're only given slight definitions of what it is, but doesn't go deeper into what it actually is. And then they said that it limits the growth of other students in small rural area. But we think that is not actually the point. We think that it actually pushes the other students from small and rural area to set a goal, to see the goal of what are the students, what are we missing, what do we want to what should we learn from the students from big cities? What should we study more? So it actually motivates the students from rural and small area to catch up to the students in the big cities and all, for examples. And they said that the examples of New Zealand, focusing on in favor building projects and favoring more portfolio, but we think that national exams are also very much important to acknowledge all the students, intelligent students, for example, especially in the small area, so that they will also have the chance to be recognized. And New Zealand only focuses on portfolio, and only in those schools that students know what their competitions. So they don't know what are the capabilities of other schools. They only know what are the capabilities in their schools. And they said that it's unfair for schools with no equipment or with low quality equipment. But we think that it's actually a motivating factor for the small students, for the students within the small area to catch up in those things. It's actually such a great thing to do, because it doesn't matter if you have a low equipment. The thing that matters is you actually have a motivation to learn. You actually want to learn, even in the big cities. The students there have a lot of equipment, have all the equipments that they need, but there's still some that doesn't even care about studying, and therefore they're comparably much less capable than the students in the small area. So it is actually unfair for them to say that it's unfair. And also, for examples, Japan uses, they said that we are going to compare in the nation of Japan. Japan uses the national exams, and what do the country achieve? They have a lot of technological advances. Their students are one of the smartest in the world. So because they use the national exam system, they know which students are better, even from students from far away from Tokyo, for example, from their capital city. They know which students are valuable because of the national exams. So it actually searches the students for capable students and intelligent, gifted students from far away from their mainland. It is actually a helpful tool. And then moving on to our arguments, we have 3 arguments on why we think that national exams should not be banned. First, intelligent students from rural or small area will be recognized. Second, continuous assessment alone is not enough to realize the student's capability. And third, to evaluate the school's capability and competency. I, as the first speaker, will deliver 2 of our arguments, and my second speaker will deliver the third one. The first argument on intelligent students from rural or small area will be recognized. So, what are intelligent students? We think that intelligent students are the ones that have a gifted in some sort of their field. For example, they are good at math, they're good at geography, they are good at chemistry. So we think that those from rural or small areas, because of the national exams, they have a really high grade when compared to the students from big city. So they will be recognized. They will be recognized from universities, from the government. So they will have some sort of privilege to get into those universities, so that they can get and they can also get a free tuition for in that university. So it's actually very helpful for some people, especially intelligent people, if you want to actually uplift the country, because we need more people we need more people that are capable. And uh, then they often if we abolish national exam, they are not going to stand out of their schools just because that school is far away from their capital city in a faraway island. They're not going to be recognized, and we think that it is very harmful. And all students should have an equal chance to be recognized. And then on to our second argument, continuous assessments alone is not enough to realize the student's capability, because it's only comparing students from that school only and not from other schools, where of course the quality will be different. And the students who is not that smart but is the smartest in their school will think that they're the best in their region, and will overestimate their capability, leading to a harmful effect in themselves. So we think that it is actually not a good idea to ban national exams, because the students will think that they're the best at their school, will often be the worst at their regional, and then they're going to say that it demotivates students, because studying it demotivates students because they realize that there's a lot of geniuses in the central city and they don't want to study as hard. But in our perspective, it will actually set a goal for students to be as good, if not better, than them in the central city. In conclusion, we are not saying that continuous assessment is useless or not helpful. We don't want to get rid of continuous assessment, but they want to get rid of national exams, which is a very important aspect as to fully know the student's full potential, and for to know the student's full potential. And for that reason above, we are very proud to oppose. Thank you.
A moment, please. Second proposition. I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. The main ideas came up or brought by the leader of opposition is all about how can we standardize the education in Indonesia by having standardized exams, and they also assume that the students will be well recognized by the next level of education at university, and they also assume that by having this kind of the national standardized exam could motivate students in terms of learning and teaching, ladies and gentlemen. Now, before I'm going to jump into my extension as the second speaker, I would like to give some points of rebuttals for the opposition. Number one, talking about standardized exams. We also think that we're not banning the national exam, but we were going to propose another types of national exam which is rely on the continuous assessments, like for example, the standardized will be based on the portfolio, project-based learning, or the project-based task, and also the what's it called the portfolio, and also the combining with the project-based task, ladies and gentlemen. This is what we are proposing in this debate, not banning the standardized exam, but we are banning about the types of national exam which is only implement one sort of the task like have been played by the government currently in Indonesia, ladies and gentlemen. And second of all, they also think that by assuming that by applying the national exam, it also lead to the motivations of the students. But they never explain to us what kinds of motivations they assume. If the motivation is all about motivations of learning, we don't think so. Maybe the motivation is only lies on stop on the surface structure, which is only focusing on how the strategy to answer the questions of the task, which is not actually meet the what's called the objective of learning, ladies and gentlemen. And we believe that most we call targeted objective of learning is all about understanding and comprehending the materials of the lessons deeply, ladies and gentlemen. And we think by only teaching the students the strategy of how to answer the questions, especially like multiple choices questions, gentlemen, is not doesn't really meet the ideas of teaching and learning at the very first place. And we believe that even if they think the motivation will be there, but the motivation, this kind of motivation is nothing in educational practice, ladies and gentlemen. And first of all, they also want to make an undertaking test in order the students will be equally recognized by the next level of education, like university, for example. And what's funny in the status quo, ladies and gentlemen, if you already implement the national exam or standardized exam at the very first place, then check that the university again apply these types as the same types of tests, for example, like SPMB or the enrollment test for the university. And what is the sense of the objective of the national test at the very first place if at the end of the day, the university will also implement the enrollment test for the students, ladies and gentlemen. And if we compare what the university do in the status quo, most of them also let the students to also what's called report their portfolio as the one of the requirement to enter the university, for example. And this is what we mean by the continuous assessment. We prefer this to be implemented at school as level as well. How if this the school have every single student to build up the portfolio, to give more experiences for the students, for example, by applying the formative test, by applying the project tasks, then you have bunch of bunch of portfolio, then this is, can be better recognized by the university as a requirement to enroll the school at the next level of education achievement. This can be the university. We believe that our proposal is much better compared to the proposal in terms of university recognition. And the next all, they also claim that these kinds of the standardized tests will help the government to evaluate the school's capability. But the question is, what is essence and what is the objective evaluating the school's capability by only implying the one shot test in a 3 or 4 days enrollments in general. And we believe that this is not the best solution. And I think this is only a kind of subjective claim from the government. They just want to force the students, sorry, the schools, to standardize itself based on the score, which is coming from sort of one sort of test, which is only 3 or 4 days in a short, ladies and gentlemen. And we think this kind of the labeling is something which is nothing to be to evaluate schools' capability. To school capability should be deeper, should be deepened into the continuous assessment as we already stated in the previous place, like portfolio. How if this the government find out that there are some schools they cannot accommodate students to have a bunch of portfolio, for example, then what should happen at the end of the day? They will also can ask to evaluate the schools. Oh yeah, maybe the schools need to be supported by the facilities to build the portfolio of the students. But if you on the scoring, for example, how can it reflect and also represent what's called how the students, or sorry, how the schools empowering uh, 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 this test students' experiences to their portfolio, and we cannot find that through the national exam like they have proposed in the opposition best. And we also argument or extensive proposition. I'm going to prove you how, if we apply the pattern of campus assessment, it will be much more better. Let's take a look how we apply the portfolio system, for example. And in portfolio system, the students are giving are given chance to have more activities and experiences linked to their lesson, for example. Project, they are working together to find the best project which is relevant, for example. Then the teachers will assess and also evaluate the project from the process until the output of the project. And the process is longer compared to the standardized national exam like what has been proposed by the opposition. And we think that this kind of activities and also the mechanism will deepen their understanding toward the project, will also deepen the assessment, what's called indicators that can be used by the teachers to see the quality and also the competency of the students. And we believe that this kind of the things will be much more effective to create better output of the schools output, or educate the students after finishing the study of education. And last, we believe that by forcing them to pass the standardized national exam, we believe that at the end of the day, we cannot achieve our goal to how the students are able to understand more on the knowledge of the lesson, how the students are skillful enough, how the students can answer the questions correctly without understanding how why the questions goes with its engagement. We believe that based on the solution we're proud to propose. Okay, to engage, I'd like to invite the second speaker.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, or audible.
Okay.
Coba kita ganti dulu kali ya. I think